you don't know how much time you have left. This is something that we hear a lot, and people, right, like they have this idea, kind of live like you're dying. You don't know how much time you have left. But I think sometimes that can get a little twisted to not have, right? Like then it's hard to have long-term goals. My grandma, when I was 5, she was diagnosed with leukemia and was told she had 6 months to live. She quit her job, ran up a bunch of credit card debt, and lived for 11 more years. So this was 1979, 1980. Diagnostics have gotten a lot better since then. But she really regretted quitting her job. She really felt the pinch of running up a bunch of debt, right? But she literally was living like she was dying. I learned so much from her in that time as a child. She had so much joy. But she did regret those big decisions, those big life decisions, but she didn't know. She had no idea. So I think that there's this way to sort of pursue, so I just saw this video. I was scrolling before I made this video, and I saw this video by Gary Vee. And he said, you don't know how much time you have left. And he was literally targeting, it was like 50-year-old people. And he was literally targeting people in their 50s or turning 50. And the idea here was, though, taking that idea of you don't know how much time you have left and expanding it. And I think so often we think of that idea of you don't know how much time you have left and we shrink it, right? We shrink it to say, oh, you don't know how much time you have left. It could just be tomorrow. It could just be, no. You don't know how much time you have left at 51. It could be another 25, 30 years of time that you have left. I look back 20 years and I was 30. And this 20 years that I can look back on is the time where I'm just like, oh, I wish I could X, Y, or Z, right? I wish I could X, Y, or Z. I can X, Y, or Z now, right? Because you don't know how much time you have left, but think of that in an expansive way, not a reductive way, not a reducing way. And I think that really hit a chord for me this morning, because I have been feeling that constriction of aging rather than continuing to see my life expanding and what that means, right? So 25, 30 years, it's a long time, right? I look back 30 years, I was 20. I look back 20 years, I was 30. All of the things that I've done in that time, it's several lifetimes, right? When I turned 40, I was like, oh, when I look back 20 years, I was 20. And that was such a perspective shift for me that it really changed so much of how I operated over the next 10 years. But then the weird thing was, like, turning 50, 51, I had these hormonal changes that really made me feel the effects of, like, the clock differently. But now I love the idea of thinking about you don't know how much time you have left as an expansive thought rather than a constricting one. This is a new theory now that I'm playing around with, because I think it is so different than the way that we normally talk about this when we say, oh, you don't know how much time you have left. Yeah, you don't know how much time you have left. Expand that out. Expand that out and run as fast as you can to pursue your dreams, because you could have time, right? Like, you have time to realize them. You have time to realize that plus. When I was 30, so looking back at my past 20 years, when I was 30, I was running a nonprofit. I had not graduated from college yet. I was running one of the largest nonprofits of its type in the country. It still might be. The Restore Warehouse in Fayetteville, 80,000 square foot resale of home goods, of building supplies, lumber. We had a contract with Fort Bragg to go into the housing, take things apart for resale. So we took houses down to the studs to resell these. My mom was still around. My nephew hadn't been born yet. All of these things that are so, like, different now. So then moving, I hadn't left the country yet. I hadn't been to South Africa. I didn't even have in mind getting my PhD, right? So thinking about the past 20 years, how expansive they've been, I can now think, I can't even imagine what my life will be at 70 because I couldn't imagine where I am now. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I could not have imagined at 30 where I am now because it wasn't even on the horizon. The biggest goal that I had at 30 was graduating with my bachelor's. I had 9 credits left to graduate from UNC in Chapel Hill. 9 credits left. I was able to do that after my mom passed in 2008. Maybe sometime I'll unpack that year. But it wasn't on my radar to get my master's, to teach study abroad programs, to get my PhD, to be a professor. Wasn't even in my wildest dreams. Could not have fathomed that. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, where you are right now and where you could be in the next 20 years is beyond your wildest dreams. So you don't know how much time you have left is expansive. Run with it. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.